Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I feel a little unsafe right now, as I am in the heart of New York City, at New York City's one of their premier Minnesota Vikings bars.
Enemy territory.
Oh God, yes, and that voice that you just heard off camera is the one, the only, the Vikings fan who just keeps on coming back like herpes. Greggory Daniels.
That's an intro.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm so happy I'm here.
I'm happy you're here too. It was very brave of you.
Yes.
Yeah, when I first pitched it, I was like, "Do you want to? You sure you can handle it?"
Listen, and again, I was gonna show in civilian clothes. I was just gonna wear like a green thermal, kind of just like camouflage in.
Yeah.
But then I said, "Listen, if I'm going into the belly of the beast."
Speaking of.
Yes.
I feel like I need to even the playing field a little bit.
Yeah. Oh.
So,
yes.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to suit up.
Oh.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to put my jersey on.
Listen,
since you represented today.
Okay.
I was a little worried that
I was a little disappointed that honestly
Yeah.
you showed up, and I was like, listen, maybe I was like, good. Because it's good for those to identify themselves as just like
here.
a bag of human excrement. So like I'm glad that the purple and gold is doing this. That
green.
He's having a
Green
great
is
year,
much
isn't he?
closer to poop than purple is. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes, if you're pooping purple, then you're just a Vikings fan. But no,
Something's wrong.
This is something. Like
Yeah.
this has been a long time in the making.
Welcome to Jack Doyles.
Yes.
This is the sort of 1A, 1B, whichever you rate it, location for Vikings fans in New York City. It's a great restaurant, great place to be.
It is actually really nice. Like
It's
when I walked
excellent.
in here, like I still felt like like in those horror movies when they walk in, they're like I feel an evil presence. Like
Sure.
I still felt that obviously.
Yeah, and we all felt it when you entered.
Absolutely.
And even
Yeah.
people who aren't even in the bar right now, they
Their senses
sensed
are like something's wrong.
something is wrong.
I'm surprised I actually didn't burst into flames like when I walked in, like just like immediately.
Yeah.
But no, this is an experience. This is the first time we've actually met face to face.
It
even
is.
though we've interviewed for like 4 years.
It's kind of weird. I feel like I know you very well.
It's very
which I
well.
do, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just
and like meeting you now, like I now remember why I do them over the phone. Like now.
It's interesting though. In the information age, we have relationships like this.
It's true.
I've actually have people I would consider friends who I've never actually met in person, and it's kind of when I was younger, it was a weird hurdle to get over.
Yeah.
Like, does that make me weird?
Yeah,
That-
exactly.
You know,
It's just like I got my internet friends.
yeah, like do I? But as I get older, I find that it's a lot easier to just kind of meld those groups together.
It's a
Be
lot
like,
more
they're my friend. You're my
common.
friend.
Yeah,
So it's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Other than I can put up with certain aspects
You're just
of
like, let's just pretend that's not there. That's
personality.
Fine. We just won't talk about it. It's the day before Thanksgiving.
being
We
a
just won't
Packer
talk
fan
about it.
is a personality trait, and it's something that I consider a negative. But I am glad to meet you in person. I think this is going to be great.
I think it's going to be phenomenal.
It's quite an impressive rig you have.
It's
I know
something. Yeah, listen,
complimented you already on that.
we spare no expense, and
This
by
is great.
spare no expense, I mean I spare
It's very
lots of
impressive.
expenses. But
You've come a long way.
yes, we definitely have. So let's kind of just jump into it.
Okay.
And take a look, because it's been a while since we talked. Last time I talked to you was last year.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much.
And this was, I think, before Kirk Cousins.
I think I might have texted you when Rodgers went down with the knee.
Yes, yeah, you
Yeah.
texted me for that. But I mean, like on air, I don't think we talked about Kirk because he wasn't.
Kirk was not a twinkle in our eye.
Yeah, he wasn't
yet.
even a twinkle. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's start there. And let's
Okay,
talk-
you want to
'cause-
start there?
Yeah,
That's
because I mean, like, here's the thing.
loaded.
Like, I've made some bad investments before. Like, I've gone out and I bought a video game that I haven't played yet. I got plenty of those. But that was $60. Yours is an $84 million mistake. How does that feel?
Well, first of all, it's not my money. let's because we don't own the team like you
Well.
guys do. God. Wow. I mean, that's a loaded question.
Sure, and totally not biased at all.
It requires a long answer. So would you maybe want to parse it down a little bit? Maybe discuss his most recent performance,
Yeah,
and then
let's talk about like kind of your
'cause it's-
initial reaction when he.
Okay.
So before you knew that, obviously he was a mistake. Before when he got hired, right?
yeah.
I know that you were a big Teddy fan. We talked about
remain
that.
a
I
big
think
Teddy
2
fan.
years ago.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this. You were just like, he has like that Tom Brady-esque kind of mentality, and even Vikings fans were like, bro.
I stand by that. But
Of
that's
course.
yeah.
So that being said, like, what were your thoughts on the departure, obviously, of Teddy, and then the emergence of Kirk Cousins?
All right. So I just said I remain a Teddy fan, and to be clear, what I mean by that is I wish him
Nothing but the best.
nothing but the best. I will be rooting for him 100% if and when his opportunity to shine comes again. I didn't take it very well. I'll be honest with you.
It didn't go well.
It didn't go very well emotionally. I kind of understood the decision at the time.
Yeah.
I was of the mindset that we'd be better off spending less money on the horse that we knew, which was Casey, and a combination of Casey and Teddy.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I thought we should be doing because we had just played in a championship game with those guys on the roster, so it seemed to make sense to me.
Yep.
I also, if anybody is familiar with me for any reason on the internet, it's been no secret that I don't. I've never been a huge fan of Kirk Cousins. You know, I think there's a track record of that online. If you really wanted to dig in,
what does this guy really think?
Never been a really huge fan of Kirk Cousins. So it was a very disappointing decision to me.
Okay.
I'll be perfectly honest. I wasn't happy about it when it happened.
Because, I mean, like, when he first got signed, like, for me, Kirk Cousins...
It was disappointing to me, not just because of the emotional connection I have to those players, or it was disappointing to me because I didn't think he was going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And when
the
there was a Drew Brees rumor at the time, you may recall, I was ecstatic
You're
about
like
that.
all on board.
I would be like,
Drew Brees
whatever it takes,
Yeah.
bring Drew Brees here.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to be clear what I mean by that.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because Kirk Cousins, to me, and this is just as a Packers fan, obviously, before you guys were even signing him, he's always, to me, just been like he's a good quarterback, but like that's that's the most positive I can give him. Like, he could put up numbers, and things like that. But Kirk Cousins to me is not the guy who's going to go down and win you the game. Like, I don't see him doing that on a consistent enough basis to justify his price tag or that justify what you guys paid him. And so when you signed him, like, while you were probably upset, I was very happy because I was like, listen, like $84 million guaranteed. Like, this is going to be good.
First of all right, I'm going to stop you right there.
Sure.
When your team has at least a better record than the person whose team fan that you're speaking to, that enables you to say things like what you just said. So I would like you to approach this with just a touch more humility. Just a touch.
Perfect.
Okay?
So after Sunday, like when we eliminate you from like the playoff contention,
see.
then
Have Packers ever won a game at US Bank? Oh no, they haven't, have they?
No,
so I guess,
but I mean,
yeah.
Listen, Rodgers had like a cold, I think, the last time he played, so he wasn't able to. He had like whooping cough or something.
Yeah, he's always sick.
So,
he's a sickly player. He's a sickly.
I think
hurt
he's what the kids would
man.
call sick, in that he's got some awesome skills.
And what an old person would call sickly.
Yes.
On the verge of death at all times.
But here's the thing,
except when things are going well. Then
of course, then he's
great.
Aaron Rodgers.
Got
Yes,
it.
100%.
So.
And we'll trust me. We'll talk all about Sunday and all that great stuff.
Yeah.
But so you guys signed Kirk Cousins, right? You're kind of meh about it, but I'm assuming there's a little bit of, I don't want to say optimism, but you're just like, okay, let's see how it goes.
I think arm talent wise, I thought we were getting an improvement.
Sure.
No matter who we're talking about, Casey, Teddy, I think arm talent wise, it's an improvement. I think there were signs that he seemed to be liked in the locker room for the most part. There was no like, he's a prick and everybody wants him out kind of thing. It seemed like an issue between him and the front office and the way that they treated him, which they really did treat him poorly.
Correct.
So, I mean, I thought there was some areas that he was an upgrade.
Okay. Yeah. So that being, because I feel like the Vikings, and I'm going to actually go all the way back to the Brett Favre era.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah, I'm going to go back there. I feel like
How
the
long is this
Vikings,
podcast?
yeah, exactly. We're back in 2000. So, like, you guys, I feel like, have always just needed a quarterback, right? Like, and so you've had the running back, you've had the defense attached to it, and that's why, like, when I knew Brett Favre going there that first season, I was like, crap, like, this is not going to go well for us because, like, that was literally the component that you needed.
Sure.
And then, like, Bridgewater was I don't want to say serviceable, but like he didn't play that long, right? And so like he was still a developing quarterback.
Yep.
He never really got to reach that potential.
We never saw what he was going to be. Yeah.
So, and you had the running game going, and obviously the defense has become like the staple of your team.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you did sign Kirk Cousins, I was like, is this going to be a Brett Favre? Obviously not comparing those at all, but like, is this going to be a Brett Favre scenario in that like you had Cook, right, who had a phenomenal year before he got hurt, and then you had obviously the defense was one of the top, if not the top in the league, and then this season, like, Adam Thielen was like 7 games in a row for like 100 yards. You had Stephon Diggs and all that stuff.
Adam Thielen, who you vehemently disagreed was
Jordy
better
Nelson.
than Jordy Nelson on this very podcast.
I will still stand by that.
Okay.
150%.
Okay. And he plays for who now?
He plays for
Nobody
the Oakland Raiders.
Does he play for them? I think he's sitting on the bench. But
I think I think he's sick too.
We'll let that slide, Tom. We'll let that slide.
It's fine. So that being said, with all the things put together, like my number one team to look out for in the NFC North this year was you. Like it was the Minnesota Vikings. They had all the hype coming in that they just added that component and they got that arm talent. They got everything that they needed. And I was like, okay, like this is going to be a fight.
All signs pointed to.
And then the Bears happened. And we were talking about this a little bit before, and we'll get more into like the whole Khalil Mack issue and whatever. But for you right now, sitting at the record that you're currently at, right? What do you think, like, why is it not, how come you guys aren't, like, fighting for how come you're not, like, tied with the Bears, or how come you're not, like, up there with one of the best teams in the NFL right now?
Well, in the interest of keeping things concise, I'll say that we squeaked away 3 games we could have won. One of those being a game we should have won.
I know that feeling.
And and also tied another team.
None of us are. Listen, none of us are happy.
Nobody's happy about that.
Nobody.
So those are 4 games that have really swung this season
just
for
the
us,
wrong way. Yeah.
and they come down to a myriad of issues.
Yeah.
Mostly on the offensive side of the ball, but the number one thing, if I could point to one thing that's changed our whole season and been like, if this wasn't happening, we'd be much better. We'd probably be way out ahead of everybody. Is turnovers. It's turnovers. We turned the ball over twice on the other side of the 50 against the Bills to start the game. Okay, that's how we started against the Bills.
I forgot about that game.
That loss careened out of control from there. We turned the ball over on 2 sustained drives against the Saints, which could have ended up in touchdowns, which would have changed the face of that game. And then just this week, we turned the ball over against the Bears at crucial times. So it's really come down to that. Obviously, there's other things I could talk about, like other issues that we have this year, but like those are if I was to isolate.
You had to pinpoint those.
Yeah, I was going to be like, that is really the biggest
with
thing.
me, I think the biggest surprise, because like I'm not adamantly like watching the Vikings game unless they're like on national TV.
I don't watch the Packers either.
That's fine. And so the thing that really stuck out to me was actually the game against the Rams.
Okay.
And so the reason that stuck out to me is because that turned into like an offensive shootout. And so I think, again, what was surprising to me, I was like, I thought the Vikings were known for their defense. You know what I mean? Like it was it was actually surprising to me that they allowed and the Rams are a good football team. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, that Monday night game was insane.
Good. Yeah.
But like they just walked down the field. Like they did what they did to us against you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that just speaks to how good the Rams offense is.
It's the Rams, man.
Or is it? But here's the thing. Like last year, you didn't really have one of those performances until like the NFC Championship game on the defensive side, and teams just like walking all over you.
No, we had a big loss. I'm forgetting the team right now, but we definitely have a couple of those a year. Usually, we do.
So So in that being said,
just, they show up flat for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's just
like the Patriots lost to the Titans. Like,
right. You just can't recover.
It kind of happened with the Bills or whatever.
Yeah.
So that being said, I feel like that dominant defense, and you had turnovers over Trubisky. Trubisky gave those to you, but like he you have that component. But like it doesn't seem like the big scary. Like I am not terrified of your defense like I was last year. Do you think I'm right in saying that?
I think you're dead wrong. Yeah.
Dead wrong. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think it took us a little time to get warmed up this year.
Okay.
There was definitely some like. What was going on here in the beginning of the year? Like,
gotta shake off the cobwebs.
Yeah, but after that, I think if you look at the last,
because like the Saints game is another example of that.
Turnovers, man.
Yeah.
You put your defense in a position where they're staying on the field for over 70 snaps or whatever.
Yeah.
They get tired, and it happens. It doesn't matter which defense it is.
I know all about that.
It doesn't matter which defense it is. Those teams will always end up giving up points. I look at our performance against the Bears as a perfect example of how high a level they're playing at right now.
Yeah.
They had multiple short fields. They had time of possession was outrageously in favor of the Bears for most of that game.
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think if you looked at it, it would be pretty surprising. And even though the score was 22 or whatever, one of those touchdowns was a Cousins pick 6.
Yep.
So we actually held them to 17 points, which traditionally for this team, 17 is like our perfect number.
That's enough to get the win.
If we hold a team to 17, we can usually pull out the win.
Yeah.
So I think the defense is right there.
Okay, so you say the defense is still there.
Yeah.
So flipping on to the other side, and you have Thielen having this amazing season, right? And
until the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and so kind of, would you say the offense is right there as well, or do you think that they're starting to get a little stagnant? Because what I saw, and again, the Bears have a damn good defense. You know, I'm not going to judge it based off that one game, but this is going to sound terrible. It reminded me of watching the Packers offense as of late. They literally just stall out, or you said, they go 3 and out and they kick the ball away, and it's give the ball right back to the defense. And like you said, you can't sustain that. You're not going to be able to win games. You might be able to do for 3 quarters, but then that last quarter you're going to fall apart.
Right. What's the question? I'm sorry.
So no, it's all good. So the offense, do you think so that is right now the focal point? Obviously the turnovers you mentioned were bad, but what's going on with the offense?
Yeah.
In that they are having 3 and outs. Kirk Cousins is not moving the ball until the fourth quarter of the Bears game when they're oh, we have to go try to win now. And then they're moving the ball.
When you have a version of your team where all of its weaknesses somehow stack up perfectly.
Yeah.
To just create this really bad feedback loop.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't matter what your strengths are because you can't utilize those strengths.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening right now. We can't control the ball.
Yeah.
We're passing too much. We can't protect the passer. The passer can't scramble.
Yeah.
It's just all
going around.
And it's just a perfect storm.
He can't scramble, can
he?
That was Tom Brady-esque. Because I think there was a play on Sunday where it was 3rd and short. And if he literally just walked 2 yards, he would have had the first down, but he threw the ball and it was incomplete.
I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah.
Because he's he's got the ability to move around.
Yeah.
I've seen him run. I know he can do it.
Yeah.
I know that he can work a pocket because I see him do it occasionally.
Yeah.
I really don't know what his deal is. And it was a problem in Washington.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery. It's not some surprise thing for Vikings fans. If you watch this guy at all, he turtles up. He gets, he's a man. I mean, he stands in the pocket.
When
He'll take hits.
Sure.
But he just does not seem to have any instinct to know when to move around or to know when to, when is a terrible time to take a sack.
Yeah.
When to protect the ball.
Yeah.
He fumbles the ball a lot. He does not, he'll have 3 or 4 yards to get a first down sitting right in front of him, and he refused to run it. It's just inexplicable sometimes. I really don't get it.
Yeah.
And after watching Teddy and Casey, it's a nightmare.
Come on, let's go. Use your freaking legs.
Use your legs, man.
Well, and that's the thing. You spoke to the running game too, right? Dalvin Cook, in which it was, he had a great season before he got hurt, and then he's come back, and we're okay, here we go. We're gonna get the ball running again. You still have Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been going at all. And so, if you can't control the time of possession, and you can't control, and they know that you're just gonna throw the ball.
Right.
They're gonna play against the pass.
Yeah.
So why run? And again, you could ask me the same exact question, and I could give you a litany of answers.
Most of our losses, I think, we're passing something 70% of the time, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just not how you win ball games. I don't care that we live in this new age, quote unquote,
quarterback league. Yeah.
You look at the teams that are passing out and hitting crazy numbers and being this guy's the MVP, the quarterback, the receiver.
Yeah.
I think I can say confidently each one of those teams has a running back who is really good and controls the clock.
The Saints have too.
And they can turn to them in moments of need and get those yards that they need and slow the game down a little bit.
And that's it.
And that's all you need. And I just think it's a total misnomer that you don't need to rush the ball in today's league. I think it's kind of bullshit.
Well,
to be honest,
and that's the thing too. Like, and as a Packers fan, it's infuriating. So, like, but
dude, you guys have been doing that for
I know,
like
but
a decade.
You run it on I know.
I remember Dorsey Levens is like the only running back I remember from the Packers of the past like 20 years.
Good old Amon Green too.
Oh yeah, Amon Green. He had a nice little stretch.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
he had a lot of yards at one point.
What was the one guy? Oh man. He had like an incredible like half season and then just disappeared. And he had a lot of syllables in his name. I'm trying to remember his name.
Not talking about Eddie Lacy because he had a great full year.
No, that's
Jonathan
only 2
Franklin
syllables.
was his backup. James Starks. Talking about him because that was a Super Bowl run.
I don't remember James Starks at all.
Okay.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
All right.
Point is, y'all haven't had a running back for a long time.
But that's the thing. Like, we have one now.
Do you?
Like, we do. we definitely do. Aaron Jones, like, his yards per carry are insane. But we don't give him the ball. Like, we just don't do it.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, if first down, if the guy gets you 4 yards, like, you have 2 downs to get 6 yards.
Right.
I don't know why that is such a hard thing to compromise. And I feel like you are almost in that same situation of, like, give the ball. Because there was a few points where Cook was running pretty well on Sunday, even against that Bears defense. And so it's at some point of, like, why are we not running? Is it more of like a lack of trust? Is it the offensive line? Is it, Cook is still trying to get back into it? Is it Latavia? Like, what is the reason that you guys aren't running the ball? Because our running the ball is Mike McCarthy. Like, that is just boom.
It's always
like
been that way with him.
That's the answer.
Yeah, he throws all the time.
Yeah.
Kirk McCarthy. I think it's our offensive line.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, it's definitely the play calling. Like, we're literally calling more passes. But I think we don't trust those guys to open up lanes.
Yeah.
Like we had 2 weeks ago was probably our again, no numbers in front of me, probably our best rushing performance.
Okay.
And we won the game, and it was Dalvin had his first big 70+ yard run, and since last year, and that
you're like, yay.
made all the difference.
Yeah.
And we ran and we did it. So I don't know. I think it's probably the offensive line. But smarter minds than me can probably isolate, individual performers that are not holding up their end of the bargain and all that. I just think we're not. It's like I said, it's the feedback loop.
Yeah.
It's just
playing.
Once the run's not working, DiFilippo immediately drops it and just starts passing like crazy. And,
exactly.
And that's when we get into this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And then we can't get control back.
So
running backs need touches, man. They need touches.
Oh, I'm aware. Trust me, you do not have to convince me of that.
It's the eternal truth of football. Like,
yes.
You've got to get a guy warmed up. If he hits the wall,
like early on, and you never give him the ball back,
and you never give him the ball back, you don't get him a chance to get into a rhythm. You're not going to run.
Yeah.
You're not going to run effectively.
100%. And so, kind of going in. So all that aside, right? You and I were focused so much on each other that we didn't see. No one cares about the Lions, but we didn't see the Bears coming.
Sure, who saw the Bears coming?
I mean,
they pulled off an enormous once in a 10-year trade.
Yeah.
I mean that no one can see that coming.
And that's the thing. Like they gave away a lot, right? Yeah. I think the fact that like they got stuff even in return, like in the form of picks, was like okay, but. I think they are proof like that was worth it. Like that is more than paid off with the kind of player and game changer that Khalil Mack is.
You try to find a guy like that with the assets that they gave away.
Correct.
I mean, the Raiders would be extremely lucky. Extremely
lucky.
That's
a once in like a generation kind of player.
To find a guy like that with those 2 picks.
And that's like kind of the guy that you build a team around.
Absolutely.
And the Raiders didn't. And
yeah, I can understand their logic in some ways.
Sure.
Like if they get 2 competitive starters out of it, then you probably come out pretty even. But in terms of like
win now,
when you get a guy like Mack, it's just
because that was the thing that was confusing for me, and like I was on the they're not going to trade away Mack train because it just didn't make any sense to me that they're signing veterans, they're signing guys like Jordy Nelson and all this stuff because they're in that win now mentality. And then they're like, let's give away our best player now. Not just on like defense, like the best player we have. Let's get rid of him.
Yep.
And so that made no sense to me.
No
but
sense.
Like immediately, week 1, the guy is a game changer, right? He had like a fumble, he had a strip set, like he had all this stuff, and he's continued to be a monster throughout.
He's a game changer. Like that term is overused, I think, by people.
No, but he is.
He's a literal game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, there were multiple times it's not even just the stats. Like we just faced him and. It was, I think, a guy like that is always in the back of your quarterback's mind.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, like,
where is he?
He literally took our left tackle and pushed him aside with one arm.
Yeah.
These are pro football players.
Correct.
And he just took him and, like, shoved him aside.
Excuse
and
me.
It's just like, dude, like, that's got to be on your quarterback's mind.
Of
so
course.
It's a clock, and so it changes the game. It
Yeah.
literally changes how your team plays.
Correct.
He's a massive, massive player.
He's like the troll,
Yeah.
from Lord of the Rings. He's a monster.
He's like a gravity well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
all your attention's got to be on what
and
he's
so
doing.
I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, in that Trubisky has done, like, that system that they've made for him. He's done well in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him anywhere near the elite conversation yet, but he's able to get it done. They obviously have a good run game, but the defense is the pinnacle of why they're being able to have sustained success.
100%.
And so I'm going to ask you a question flat out before we even get to talking about us.
Okay.
Are the Bears going to win the North? No.
Nah. I still don't trust them.
You don't. You think, like, there's going to be a point where they falter?
I mean, they haven't been there yet. So I feel like the amount of big games you got to win to get to that point, I think both of our teams have way more experience doing that.
Okay.
And I think...
So you still think it's Vikings or Packers?
I think it's Vikings or Packers. Plus, we still have 2 home matchups against 2 big division rivals. So
you do. Yeah. And you play them the last game of the season. Yeah.
We play them in the last game of the season, which could be a doozy if things go.
I did this whole thing last week, and I literally just went through like the Vikings schedule, the Packers schedule, the Bears, the Falcons, like everybody who's like in the contention for wild card and the division.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, your schedule coming up is not that easy.
It's
like,
not.
You got some big games up in there.
We just lost the first one.
Yeah. So
we had like a stretch right after the bye.
The Bears, I would argue, have an easier route. Like, they have, I would say, like 3-ish games that are rough left, right? They have the Rams, they have you, and they have me, right? They have those teams, but then they got teams like the Giants that you throw in there, and it's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
And the Lions, obviously, this Thursday, which, if the Lions can pull off, Detroit, please, like, finally, this is your moment. Let's do it. I don't trust them at all. But that all being said, like, their defense may literally just carry them to a divisional title just because of their schedule. It is easier. I mean,
it's easier.
So if they don't drop at least 3 games, like, they're gonna win the division.
I'm just gonna double down and say I'm more concerned about the long-term implications of this Bears season. Okay. I'm just gonna put it that way. I think long-term, they have positioned themselves really well.
Yeah.
I think in the short term, I think a lot could happen still this year. I'm not. See, I'm not crowning them yet.
It's interesting you said that too, because a few years ago when the
can I tell you
please.
What? Sorry, not to interrupt you.
No, please.
Just this thought popped in my head, kind of like I can picture.
Explain
myself a little bit better. Explain myself a little better. When teams have glaring weaknesses, and become much more of a focus, as this is the team to beat. It's easier for teams to isolate. Why is this team doing well?
Yeah.
Why do they do poorly?
Yeah.
How do we beat the shit out of what they do poorly? And the Bears have some glaring weaknesses, right?
Sure.
They have, the quarterback is at times a glaring weakness. The defense is not, but I think it's easier for teams.
There's components in there that, like,
I just think that there's going to be some teams that are going to show up. This is our Super Bowl this year. We're going to take down the Bears.
Yeah.
And we're going to just make Trubisky's life hell. And he's not gonna be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's more.
I getcha.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't want to say they remind me of, but, like, I'll remember the divisional game, the Packers when they beat the Cowboys. So it was 2016, right?
2016. Okay.
So, like, that's the year that, like, Dak came in, Zeke came in, and they were just, like, unstoppable, and they were this amazing team. And the Packers pulled off that victory, but I'm like, crap, like, they are going to be, like, the team going forward.
Right.
And then that all kind of, like, fell apart. So I'm curious, because if Trubisky is the guy, like, if he becomes that franchise guy, like, they don't have, I was talking to a buddy about this, like, those teams like the Rams, like the Bears, like, they don't have that big quarterback contract yet. Like, that's going to be added to them, in which they are going to have to let people go.
Right.
And it's like you and I, we have that. Like, we locked down our quarterback, for 6-3, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
So I think, they will, talking about future, that is, while they set themselves up pretty darn well, they're not going to get first round picks.
True.
And there's potential, like, that salary cap might come back to bite them.
True. True.
And may limit
Trubisky.
them getting those people. Yeah. If Trubisky's the future.
True.
But if he's not, like that creates a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not just trying to crap on the Bears, but I'm also in a sense like trying to look for hope of like
that we didn't just waste our
still-
windows, both
Correct.
of us.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah. I think about that every day.
Yeah, that's just depressing.
Before I go to
think
sleep.
about.
So you're still kind of like holding out hope that one of us is gonna win.
I just think we have the teams that
That
have
experience,
been there.
you're saying.
They've been there, and I
Yeah.
think that counts for something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
down the stretch, especially.
that being said,
Yeah.
if you had to choose between the Bears and the Packers winning the division,
What kind of selfish choice is this?
I love this question.
My
I think
brain
this-
just stopped working.
I think this
like,
question's the greatest question
I
I've
have
ever
to
asked.
choose,
If you
what
have
does
to,
that
like,
mean?
if one of those teams is going to win, which one would you be able to swallow better and be like, all right, fine?
Are we making the assumption that we're not even in the conversation here?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay. All
This has
right.
been
I
a
don't
little
like
too-
that
this has been a
assumption
little
at
too
all.
civil. This
I need
is,
a bullet.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness. Which would I be able to stomach more? The
Yeah.
Bears.
Yeah.
100%.
Because that's the thing. Because like we were talking about, like, man, that would be the worst. But in the back of my mind, I was like, as long as it's not the Vikings. As long
I
as it's
can't
not them.
stand watching the Packers in any
Listen,
playoff scenario.
the last
so,
time that the Bears won the division, we won a Super Bowl.
Oh
So,
my
like,
God.
even if they win the division and we kick your ass right out of the wild card,
Listen, let's be real.
Yeah, sure.
Both of our teams, our only shot, I think, at the playoffs this year is winning the division. So
that's not no. If we have a shot at doing wild card.
I think mathematically right now still. But
so like
but
technically, if we beat you guys, I think if Dallas loses and Seattle loses, we're actually in the 6th spot,
Dallas loses and Seattle loses.
and you lose obviously because if
The
we beat you
NFC
on
South
Sunday.
is better than us this year, aren't they? Don't they have
But the
two?
Falcons really is not. They're not doing that great. The Panthers, yeah.
so.
So right now, the
Yeah.
wild card look from or everything I was looking, it was the Rams.
Look
the
how
Saints.
pathetic. We're like junkies right
It
now.
really is.
We're
It's
sitting
bad.
here like coming up with
It's
who,
okay,
who
man.
has
We're
to
gonna
lose,
we're-
who has to
Oh,
lose
yes.
for us to get in.
We're starting.
What a
that.
shitty year.
Yeah, it's
like
bad.
that's a sign. When
It's
you're
bad.
starting to look at scenarios.
Well, listen, if this team collapses and the Giants
Oh,
win,
boy.
yeah, no,
We're in
it's-
trouble, Tom.
it's-
This is not good.
No, I know, buddy. It's bad. Like that's
Like,
the thing too.
where's my next
like,
pick's gonna come from?
It's exactly like
I
it's.
gotta get back to the
It's
playoffs,
like
man.
when I was thinking about this exact interview, I was
Yeah.
like, we're gonna be like fighting for the North. We're gonna be like the tip top or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And we're sitting down at the bottom going like, please lose,
Please don't win anymore. Please.
Yeah, I mean like.
How's Trubisky's shoulder?
Yeah, we could. So there's both of our teams could make it into the wild card, and I think
Okay.
the schedules are open for that.
Yeah.
However, this Sunday, I think is going to go a long way. One, definitely for the division.
Yeah.
Whoever loses isn't winning the division.
Oh, it's over,
It's
yeah.
not happening,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's going to be a big blow to our wild card too, because
Mm-hmm.
then one of our teams is unless we oh god if we tie again, I literally would just die.
There is no.
Like that
can't
first game
even-
was so unsatisfying.
it was gross.
Because I was like, oh, we won.
was gross.
Oh, we're gonna lose. Oh no, okay, we tied. Like there was
Yeah.
nothing happy about
Empty.
that.
It
Like
was
it
like
was completely
empty.
empty.
It was like staring reality, true reality in the
Yeah,
face.
no,
and
it
being like,
was-
this is what existence is.
It was
This
horrific. It's just
is
so
meaningless,
disappointing.
and
so disappointing.
we're just floating through life trying
That's
to
it.
grasp at straws.
That's it. That's our season right now. So this Sunday,
Yeah.
obviously, I would argue biggest game of the season for both of our teams because it's going to determine if we're going to the playoffs or not.
I think that's fair to say.
So
yeah. Thus far, at least, yeah.
that being said, with everything swirling around, with all the issues that both of our teams are having,
Yeah.
convince me why your team is going to win. Obviously, like because this is going to be wrong. But like I
Our
wanna
defense is better than your offense,
See, okay,
for one.
that hurt a little bit, but okay.
I think we match up really well.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of corners. You guys have a lot of receivers, but we have a lot of corners. I think our line beats your line, as long as they're getting called properly for holding, which is never the case with the Packers. But
Boo,
but
I'm sorry. If I'm not mistaken, if we want
Yeah.
to talk about referees, the sack
Bakhtiari's moves to go like this.
on Kirk Cousins,
Grab the jersey
I
and
want to
just
say
lift
that
the guy in the air. And just like,
because it's so weird. Because like after
sorry, I wasn't listening. What were you saying?
Yeah, no, I wasn't listening
I was
either. So like
imagining
after our matchup, it's
Yeah.
so weird that like a lot of those roughing the passer calls aren't called anymore. Like,
yeah,
it's so weird
because,
that
because
happens.
your fucking quarterback petitioned the league to turn the league into a two-hand touch against the quarterbacks.
Well, maybe if your linebacker wasn't such a dick.
oh my God!
you
You
know.
know it was a clean hit. by
I mean,
all.
he didn't have to land on top of him. That's all I'm saying. He just didn't have to.
Yeah, you're right. He should have
defy
changed the laws
gravity.
of physics.
Yes, he absolutely should have.
I can't believe we're still arguing
Yeah, I
about
know
this
we
2
are.
years
We're
later.
gonna argue it. We're gonna
Change
be
the laws
96
of
years old
physics.
and be like, you remember?
Doesn't it make you a little sick? I mean, you saw Clay Matthews has had 2 or 3 of those penalties this year.
Yeah, in a row.
It makes you sick, right? When
Absolutely,
you see it happen.
100%.
Okay, so that's
Well, they
the
didn't,
hit we're talking
technically,
about.
like they didn't flag Anthony Barr for that hit.
They didn't because it wasn't the rule. They changed
Yeah,
the rule
they
because of
literally
your
changed the-
quarterback.
Okay.
And that's why we're all
Well,
living
I
in
mean,
this
I would
post-Aaron
say-
Rodgers world where quarterbacks
Listen,
are untouchable.
it takes
They're
two to
still getting
tango.
hurt.
It takes
Alex
two to
Smith
tango.
just broke his leg in half
Yeah, he did.
on a totally clean tackle.
Yeah.
Totally clean tackle.
Yeah.
You can't regulate injury out of the game.
Correct.
It's such – I don't mean to get on a rant here.
No, it's fine.
Non-Packers related at this point.
No, it's fine. You gotta have
it's
something
a
to
joke,
believe in.
man. You can't regulate injuries out of the game.
Makes sense.
You might as well just commit to the cynicism of it and declare quarterbacks untouchable.
Yeah.
Just commit to it.
Put
Because if
flags
you
on
really
them.
don't want them to get hurt,
Yeah.
you can't let them get hit.
Yeah.
Period. This is a physical game. It's a contact
It's a violent
sport.
game, yeah.
It's a violent sport. It's been that way. The only way to change it is to take off all the pads
Yeah.
and make it two-hand touch.
Yeah.
And you know what? I might still watch. I just won't love it as much, that's for sure.
Sure.
I might still watch
I'll still watch.
because the physical feats are amazing.
Sure.
The speed and the
100%.
the skill of the game is still really wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think you can't keep these guys from getting hurt. It's a full speed, full contact sport.
I think
guys get hurt.
I think you can take precautions, obviously, like like the concussion things and things like that, like and designing the helmets
Yeah.
better, and and protecting the quarterbacks in that way, and but that's not just the quarterbacks, running
Right.
backs and wide receiver, what have you. I think there is a need for that because you shouldn't have guys like Brett Favre saying like I don't remember part of my career because
Right.
I've been hit so many times. Like I think that is a very negative. I think it's something that's always been there,
Right.
And something that as viewers we accept
Right.
that these people could literally die.
I
like,
don't miss the decapitations.
No,
At first I
don't miss
thought
that
I
at all.
would. I used to think
Yeah.
like this is part of the sport. I love
Sure.
it. I realized that those never really made me happy.
Yeah.
I never really enjoyed them. I like a good clean tackle
Sure,
where the guy
100%.
just gets the snot knocked out of him
Sure.
and he gets up. Like
Yeah.
that's ultimately what I enjoy.
Sure.
So I don't miss the decapitations.
And I think from a league, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. In
Yeah.
that from a league perspective, when Aaron Rodgers goes down,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just using him as the
It's
example.
bad for the sport.
It's bad for the sport,
I
right?
agree.
Like and then that happens with any major quarterback or major
Yeah.
player or what have you. But you're 100% correct. Like, okay, if you can't do that, then they're going to go for legs. Like, they're going to go low, and then you're going to have ACL.
Or just a guy's just gonna get tangled up. That Smith hit, you can't.
Yeah, you
there's
can't.
nothing you can do. His
Yeah.
leg got caught, and it broke, and
Yeah.
it's just it sucks.
Yeah,
It sucks.
sucks a lot.
But are you familiar with Australian football at all? Australian rules football?
I am not.
I've watched a little bit of it because it's a really fascinating sport. It's sort of like rugby combined with
Okay.
American
'Cause
football.
you've already given up on your season. I got it. You're just like, let's see what
Their
the guys down
championship,
under are doing.
they play in the summer, so just cool it with that shit. I've caught some, but the reason it caught my eye was because I was reading an article about how many injuries occur in the game.
Yeah.
They have rosters that are like double the size of football teams and stuff
Because of the injuries.
They have so many injuries.
Yeah.
They're not as many concussions, but these guys get
Interesting.
just torn to bits. They don't
Sure.
wear pads and stuff, but they still tackle.
Yeah.
They still get hit at odd angles and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I say that to say, I think we have to reach a middle ground where we acknowledge physics.
Yeah.
Okay, we say like a guy,
100%.
like you can't regulate a player to not
Yeah.
fall. Like it's just so
Yeah,
ridiculous.
100%.
But we can also try to avoid the decapitations and stuff. I
Yeah.
think that's good for
Find
the
that
game.
middle ground.
Ultimately, I think that has been good for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, Rodgers is a pussy, and that's that. Point Greg.
And done.
Point Vikings.
That whole spiel is going to get edited out. It's just So
Of course.
this Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait to win for the first time in your new stadium. It's gonna be great.
Oh, it's gonna be such a rude awakening
It's
for
gonna
you.
be so great.
I can't even believe.
But like,
I'm
here's the
so
thing.
excited.
Like, I feel like even though our seasons have not been to the expectation that we want them to,
Right.
I feel like this is almost like this is what it has to be.
Yeah.
Right. Like, of course, you have two struggling teams in the Vikings and Packers, and of course, like to determine the rest of the season, one of us is gonna have to
So
fail.
it should always
I
be,
feel
baby.
Like it's Batman Joker.
This is
like
the thing. It's always gonna be the thing.
It is.
It has to be the thing.
So
Packers Vikings, man.
So when
That's the
Aaron
thing.
Rodgers beats you,
Yeah.
so when that happens, are you just going to stop watching football altogether, or
I know you're a teacher, but you should consider a law degree.
Yeah.
You know, you're really good at like inserting little at the start of your point.
I plead the fifth. I don't know.
I must concede by answering the point that you just made.
I think that's a leading question. I would.
I believe it
I've
is. Yes, I
never
would
read
object
a law
to it as a
textbook
leading
ever,
question.
but okay. So I think it's going to be a great game on Sunday night.
I hope so.
I really think so.
That would be great.
And
if
I
it was.
think the Packers fans, like, we've been looking for like that moment of like relax or run the table or something, and it hasn't happened yet.
Rodgers is kind of grumpy this year, right?
He's very grumpy.
Yeah, I've
and
been
I would
catching
say
that.
rightfully so. He's grumpy.
He seems a little kind of a prick this year.
Okay, I didn't say that. Didn't say.
I can lawyer it too.
Okay, that's fine. All right, listen, we're just gonna.
You concede my point.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go to school. Like, we're gonna go to law school. Like, for the next interview that we do, and we're gonna be like, my client, Mr. Rogers. So our teams, we're looking for that win. Obviously, the Packers have been going through streak. We've lost the last 4 out of our 5 games. 3 or 4. 3 out of our last 4, I think, because we lost the Rams, the Patriots, and so 3 out of 4 because we won against the Dolphins. So we lost our last 3 out of 4, all against playoff contending.
Is a win
teams.
against the Dolphins? Does that really count, though?
I mean, the win against the Bills counted. We shut those guys out.
Oh man!
So.
All right, I gotta let you get 1 or 2.
Ding.
That's fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
That was like our one good game of the year. That was like, that felt really good. And like, there's a part of me that's like, okay, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers have always pulled it out. Whether it's been the most ridiculous.
They literally haven't, but I'm listening.
Well,
okay.
last year he got hurt. Rodgers wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
But 2015, we ran the table. We did that, right? We did it. We made it to the NFC Championship
Right,
game.
and then what happened in that game?
We lost.
Oh, you lost.
Yeah,
oh, okay. I was
So
like,
it's
he's
so-
making a
it's
point
so
about how
weird.
they always pull it out, and I feel
mean,
like,
I meant to
that's
make the
slightly
playoffs.
revisionist history,
to
but
make the playoffs.
Oh, to make the playoffs.
That's what I was.
Okay,
that's what I
again,
was
so
referring
just adding
to.
some addendums
Because
to your
if I'm
initial
not
point.
mistaken, the only reason that you went to the NFC Championship game was because the Saints secondary forgot how to tackle.
You don't see me making claims that we always pull it out, though, do you?
Well, no, because that's the thing. You've been down in the dirt for so long. You can't make. So remember,
Oh
like
my
that
God.
humility comment you made in the very beginning. It's the same. It goes the same way. It's just.
I'm curious. Do either of us know what the team records for the past 10 years are?
Like when we go
I
head to
bet you
head.
it's pretty even.
When we go head to
yeah.
head?
And then also
Because
overall.
you've had our number for the past few years.
Yes.
Yeah, and so
then you had our number for a few years before that.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I bet you it's a lot closer.
Yeah,
than
I
you
think it is pretty close. I don't have that number on
Keep
top
talking
of my head.
shit, Grossi.
So I'm just going to say the Packers obviously have like 27 games
Of
over
course,
you,
like
obviously,
70% winning
because we
record.
don't have the internet to prove us right or wrong.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, as you're on your phone, you're
Yeah,
just
I
like,
was
listen,
like,
you
yeah,
little
this is-
dick. All right,
yeah.
so that being said, our seasons are pretty much over if we lose on Sunday. There's a lot riding into this game. It's on primetime football.
I'm too repressed emotionally to admit that.
Yeah.
So, but I'll continue.
Because here's the thing though, like you had that same optimism too.
Yeah.
That like we're gonna find a way, that it's gonna be the Vikings or it's gonna
Yeah.
be the Packers, that it's going to dismantle the Bears.
This
or
podcast
dethrone
is
the
getting a little
Bears.
too real for me right
It
now.
is like this is a personal attack.
Yeah. This season
So-
does kind of come down to this game. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's horrifying. Like that's terrifying for me because you're a good team.
Right.
I'll give you that. You're a good team.
Right.
Right. I like to think we're a good team.
I
And because
think we
we've had-
both have pieces that you're looking for in
'Cause,
at least a playoff.
Like I
team.
feel like our seasons have gone very similar routes in that we've had we've had 3 or 4 games that could have gone the other way,
Right.
right? We went for it on 4th down on Thursday night. Who knows? We might have won. If Ty Montgomery decides to take a kneel, we might have won. If
Ooh, boy.
we don't get that call against the Vikings, you guys could have hit a field goal, so that could go either way. But
Yeah, a number
it's-
of other
It's
things.
those kind of Mason Crosby could have hit one of those 5 kicks.
Daniel
against
Carlson
the Lions.
could have hit one of his 5
Exactly.
kicks.
So it all
Yeah.
comes down to you have 2 struggling teams. Even if you win or we win, there's also still no guarantee that we're going to the playoffs based off of how we've been playing all year.
Right.
And so, do you think there's a scenario, and how likely is it that neither of our teams are competing in January?
Well, of course, there's a scenario.
How likely do you think? Like, I don't want odds or something, but I'm like, do you think that is like a very distinct possibility that even if the Packers win or the Vikings win, that just because the NFC is competitive, even though I think the schedule does play out in both of our favors.
Yeah. I know this is arrogant to say, and I know it defies math and logic at the moment, but
It's
I
fine.
still feel like this is the Vikings division to lose.
All
And
right.
if we lose, then we fucking
we
lost it. We lost it.
Okay.
That's how I see this year. I see this year as we were the incumbents for a reason.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
it
Rodgers
is
was
our
hurt.
fault that we are not the incumbents currently.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't make the playoffs, it's our fault. I
Okay.
just don't feel like we got beat this year. I feel like we beat ourselves. Which is, I know it's that's like the kind of thing where
Isn't that?
a
I'm pretty sure
Packers
you've
fan
said
would
that.
say that,
I'm pretty sure
and I'd
you've
want-
said that to me like 150 times. Oh, Rodgers can't never make a mistake, right? You're like, you did it to yourselves. No other team. I'm pretty sure you've said that exact
I'm feeling
statement
myself
to
a
me.
little bit after a championship
Oh my
season. I think
God.
I'm allowed to feel that way.
Championship season.
Getting to the championship
season. I'm sorry. What?
I feel like when it's deserved, it's deserved. So I feel like this is, if we don't make the playoffs, it's because we lost.
Okay.
If you don't make the playoffs, it's because you never deserved it.
Oh, okay. So that's how I wanted to clarify. That's
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah.
Okay, that's totally fine. I cannot wait for the Packers to beat the ever living.
Hey, you switched out Dom
of
Capers.
you.
That solved everything, didn't it?
Our defense is much better than it is.
It is
Like,
better.
It is so much better.
In all fairness,
Like
I
I'll
will.
even get, but like
I will
we're going
concede
in
that.
like we don't have Mike Daniels.
I
So
didn't
Mike Daniels
even-
injured, but
I'll be honest. I always thought Frank Clark was kind of a joke.
yeah.
When they picked him, I was like, "Are you kidding?" And
I mean Kenny Clark.
whatever his name is.
Okay, I was
Clark.
like, who the hell is Kenny? Yeah, oh no, Kenny Clark. He's like one of the youngest guys on the
pretty
team,
legit.
and he is legit.
I was like, really, I gotta hand it to you guys. That was a
Kyler
good pick.
Fackrell, who like every Packers fan had written off, like you don't even know who that is. Like
I
it's-
saw him. He popped a little bit
Yeah,
in the last game.
but he's like been on fire.
Yeah.
Like I think it's because
why did
have
y'all
those-
trade Clinton Dix?
So okay, let's.
I didn't understand that move.
I
at
understand
all.
it completely. So there's no way that we were going to re-sign him next season.
Okay.
We just weren't. The reason that I was advocating for him to stay is because we had nobody at that safety position to swap in.
Right.
We have cornerbacks that are basically going to do a hybrid right now. And like Tramon Williams went back to safety and all that great stuff. But Tramon Williams is a Band-Aid. Like we need to draft
Sure.
a safety or pick one up in free agency.
Right.
But if we let him walk next season as we were going to, we
Right.
would have just gotten a conditional 4th round pick and that's it, which could be like 10 to 20 picks higher than an actual 4th round pick from that. So it's kind
Sure.
of a scenario of we might as well get something now
Okay.
because they thought that they could win with the team that they had.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
and
Fair enough.
I don't think HaHa Clinton Dix, I think, he was obviously like consistent, but he was never like he made those mistakes and he
Oh, I was never afraid of him.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but I just figured you
he
guys went
was
without.
a body.
Yeah,
like
you
Morgan
guys went without
Burnett,
backs
for
for so
example,
long,
like
though.
he was a body back there too, and like he was a veteran
I just
leader.
felt like y'all went without backs for so long.
Yeah.
Just I was like, you should cling to.
Anybody
you
we
finally have one,
Yeah, no,
but,
I completely understand that logic, and that's what made sense to me of why you should keep him.
Yeah.
But I understand.
But it's
the
an
move.
interesting.
Yeah,
thing.
and like I think the new GM is. I actually like the. I don't want to say aggressiveness, but like it is kind of like aggressiveness of like.
What's his name? Like Poopa?
Oh,
something like that?
Brian Gutenkunst. Yeah,
Gutenkunst, that's
he's Mr. Goody McGutenter. Yeah, he.
Gutenkunst. God.
Oh yeah, he's. I just call him Brian.
yeah. I would
But
call him Brian. too.
It's that kind of logic that like Ty Montgomery, like he met, like obviously wasn't the locker room was speaking out against.
Did you buy
him.
his excuse?
No.
Yeah, I
Absolutely
didn't buy
not.
it either.
No, but here's the thing, though. If you're put in Ty Montgomery's shoes, you were the leading running back before
Right.
you got hurt, right? And now you literally don't have a place. You're ranked like number 6, I think, in the wide receiver spectrum. You're
Right.
like number 4 behind
Starting his
Aaron
career.
Rodgers.
Right.
You know, like you're literally doing nothing.
Right.
And so, like, I could see the frustration,
Sure.
but it's a team sport. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, oh well.
Yeah.
So I understood him going. That's fine. Get a 2020 7th round pick for him. I really don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, and that's what is driving me that if we don't make the playoffs, Mike McCarthy's gone. I actually, we've been
I think he
saying
should've
that
been
for a
gone a
long
couple
time.
years ago.
I think you and I have even been saying that.
Yeah.
But like, this is the year that like I feel like I'm gonna wake up Christmas morning and there's actually gonna be a present under the tree.
How could
and
they
it's
not fire
McCarthy? I feel like you have to at this point.
Yeah.
But, and there's a lot of Packers fans out there that are like, hey, you know, if we don't make the playoffs, at least we have like McCarthy. And they're kind of like, it's crossing that line of almost rooting for not, and I'm just like,
No, don't ever root for your team
yeah,
to lose.
no, it's
that
not
whole
fun.
that I'm gonna look right in the camera when I say this. If you're the kind of person that roots for your team to lose, you need to reevaluate why you watch sports altogether. I
Amen.
don't care if it's basketball, football, whatever your sport is. Rooting for your team to lose is the stupidest shit, and it's brand new. I feel like within the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's coming from a group of fans that I cannot relate to. I don't get that shit.
yeah.
I would rather have a team of no names who
Yeah.
are winning like crazy
Yeah.
and making it fun to watch.
It's like the suck for luck thing. Yeah,
Absolutely. I just hate that shit.
yeah.
Don't root for your team to lose. Don't do that.
It just, I feel like because even now, like, both of us, right? Like, we got real for like a second.
Yeah.
But we both have that sense of optimism of like, our teams are going to go to the playoffs.
Hell yeah.
Because it would be
What
the
else are we
most
doing here?
depressing shit if we sat here and we're like,
What is
well,
the
our
point?
season's over. Like, even if we were 4 and like we had like 2 wins, I'd be like, hey, listen. So mathematically, this is how we could get it, because it just makes it not fun.
I'll confess
if
something
you just
to you.
give up.
I'll confess something to you.
Sure.
This is not easy. I think I
You
consider
admire
myself
Aaron
a bit
Rodgers
of a.
and you see him as a father figure.
No.
Listen, I know.
That's not what I was going to say. I consider myself a bit of I'm not an average fan. I put a lot of energy into my fanhood.
Sure.
I'm not going to call myself a super fan or any stupid shit like that. I'm sitting here, we're talking.
In a Vikings jersey, in a Vikings bar.
Like
the
Wednesday
day
morning,
before
the day before Thanksgiving, okay? Like, I put a little bit of effort into my fanhood. But there was a period of time when I was in college and the team was awful.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch. Because I didn't enjoy watching them lose.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to sit there and come up with draft pick scenarios and stuff. I was like, this is just going to play out. I can't afford the energy it takes.
Ebbs and flows.
And
I'll just catch them back on it.
Just take a break.
Yeah.
But don't sit there and root for your team to lose and actively look at lineups and be like, boy, if we put in this player, we got a much higher chance of losing.
Yeah.
Like, that is fucking lame.
Yeah.
Just take a break, man.
I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I said this last week too, like right before the playoff video that I did.
Yeah.
I said, listen, a lot of people are already doom and gloom, the season's over, what have you. Then don't watch. Like, it makes it severely less
Take a break.
fun. Like,
Breathe.
I have to say, like, the year we won the Super Bowl obviously was great. I had a lot of fun, good times.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the season that stuck out the most was the run the table season.
Leave it to a Packer fan to drop a Super Bowl
reference. Listen, I know
out of nowhere for no reason.
I'm sorry, we have
something
them.
that happened 10 years ago.
We just have them.
You won a Super Bowl a long time ago.
It was 8 years ago, but it was one of those things that, like, that season was great, and I'll always remember it because that was like my real first Super Bowl win.
I get it. I do get it.
So and that was great, but I have to say, like, the run the table season when every game, like, we're on the verge of losing, I was the most amped I think I've ever
thrilling.
been, because it's just like, oh my god, like, this is so exciting.
Last year we exceeded expectations, and it was one of the more satisfying experiences I've had as a fan.
That Saints Vikings game.
Oh my god!
Like, one phenomenal.
I can say without question the best playoff experience I've had watching the game, and it was amazing. Yeah. It's much better when your team is exceeding expectations or winning with a group of players that you like, even if they're not the best or whatever.
Or you still are, like, holding out that hope of, like, they're going to do well. Like, I'm still going to tune in because I think that they can win.
I think we're on the verge. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I do not understand rooting for losing.
I mean, like, even like I talked to 2 Browns fans last year, and like, just to kind of be like, what happened? Like, what went wrong? Like,
if your organization's not smart enough to fire McCarthy after this season, I don't know what to tell you. But you know what I mean? Like, but bottom line, you shouldn't be rooting for, because there's no guarantee that's even going to happen.
That's going to happen.
You know what I mean? So then you spend the whole year being miserable and upset.
Correct.
And then it doesn't even happen, so you're more miserable and upset.
People are saying, though, the playoffs would save McCarthy's job, and I'm like, okay.
So like, be it.
So it saves his job, but guess what? We get to go to the playoffs.
Hell yeah.
There are so many teams that aren't even sniffing the playoffs. And it's just.
Try to be a Browns fan.
That's what I was saying.
Complain about playoffs.
I talked to them, and like, they're pumped when they win. Like, they gave away free beer to the entire city when they won a game, like one game. It's.
Oh man.
Yeah,
those are real fans, man.
Yeah, it is. It's a very humbling experience. Like talking to them, because like, in recent years, obviously, like, both of our teams have found success,
Thank God.
So and being on that other side of the spectrum, like, it's brutal. Like, last year, watching Brett Hundley was brutal. Like, that was miserable.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So yeah,
I watched some of those too.
Yeah, and you were just like,
out of like morbid. I was like masturbating
so
to it. Like,
this is great. It's so sad.
It's pathetic.
But I think, but no, this has been great.
Yeah,
this has been great. It's been a good time. So I think.
Do you want to make a final point or something?
Yeah, final points.
Yeah.
I hope you root for the Packers when we're in the playoffs.
It'll never happen.
I hope.
Never gonna happen.
Okay, so is there any scenario that you find yourself rooting for the Packers if we make the playoffs, even if, like, Super Bowl against
I was about to face that. I don't know if it was last year. It was the year before last year. It was almost Pats Packers.
Yeah.
I was about to face that.
Yeah.
I knew it was Pats all the way.
Really?
And I hate them too. But I was like, there's no chance. Never.
Okay.
Ever. So that's the perfect litmus test, and I promise you I would have passed it. There's no chance.
That's perfection.
No chance.
See, I was rooting for you guys on Sunday.
I don't know why.
Because it would have helped our divisional
You're a better
chances.
person than me, I guess.
It would have helped
Tom.
our. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the only reason why. It's only just to.
So you're rooting for math at that point.
Correct.
I can relate
yes.
to that.
I'm
yes.
doing that just because.
Okay. This time of year.
And I was like, oh look, the Vikings even they can't. They
but
still
you feel
let me
a little
down.
dirty. You feel like
Oh no, because it wasn't
like,
even rooting for it. It was
yeah.
just like I hate one team slightly less than the other one for
Sure.
these next 3 hours, and
Sure.
then it goes back and it changes. Because I don't hate the Bears like I hate you.
Because ultimately it's about what's best for me.
Correct, 100%, absolutely,
Yeah,
and that's the Green Bay Packer way.
Yeah.
And that's the Minnesota Viking way.
Yeah.
And we're here in this Minnesota Vikings bar.
We are. It's
Not
been
enough
nice to share
showers
this with
will
you.
ever make me feel clean again. Like this was a dirty experience.
Well, you don't shower much anyway, I'm sure.
It's-
So you're a
it's
Packer
true.
fan. They
I just
don't,
shower in wins and all the glory.
they
Not right
shower,
now.
They shower in beer.
Not right now, but we will.
And cheese.
But we will. But Greg,
Have you got your eye on Trevor Lawrence too?
You were just telling me about that
Yeah.
before. Like
3 years.
You seem very excited about that.
Setting the clock to that one.
Listen, so you're telling me that when "Suck for Lawrence" comes out as a movement for the Minnesota Vikings, you're not hopping on board that train.
I'm of the mindset that you can make that kind of pick happen for you, whether or not you're. I think you can move up. You can do a lot of things that don't involve tanking.
Well, listen, but rebuilding.
I'm sorry. I'm starting a whole new chain.
Yeah,
You're
I
trying to
know.
wrap up, and I'm like,
But it's all right. Rebuilding is not a dirty word,
Stop.
and so like when you guys.
Short rebuilds are the best.
Sure, absolutely.
I think we have a lot of pieces in place.
Yeah, and so maybe in like a couple
Why are we
years,
talking about rebuilds, man?
Oh,
It's not
just
over
not
yet.
You guys.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
not you. No, like us, we
Oh,
don't know.
you're much closer to a rebuild than
No,
we are.
listen,
So
because we got 6 years of the greatest quarterback.
man.
you guys got 3 more of a mediocre.
I can't believe you
quarterback.
didn't call me out for my stupid take about Rodgers' contract.
What about it?
Was dead wrong from last season. I was like, doesn't he have an opt-out and stuff? And I was
Oh.
dead wrong about that.
Yeah, no.
I'm surprised you didn't
See, what I
nail me
actually
to the
do,
wall on
see,
that.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
What I do remember is 2 years ago, we made a bet that we were going to buy each other a jersey. And if I'm not mistaken, my team ran the table and won the division. And it was so weird. Like, I never heard anything
have no
from you
memory of
after
this.
that. Oh, I'll have to go back in the tapes and the archives and check that out.
I have no memory of this at all.
It's so weird. It's so weird how that works
Yeah.
out.
This
But,
has been fun, Tom.
this has been glorious. Where can the people find you,
You
so
can-
they can see your rants about Kirk Cousins and do a deep dive into
I've been kind of
the mind?
actually been very patient about him this year. You can follow me on Instagram. I just started an account. It has 0 posts
Nice.
currently. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell I want to
Matches
do
the
with
Super Bowl wins.
it. Yeah. Oh God. It's because you snuck it in there, man. I'm trying to be all polite
I
and
know, it
like
was
we're
great.
wrapping this thing up.
It was
and you
great. I
sneak
have
in
to
a
get like the
little-
last stabs
Oh my
in. I
God.
have to.
That's at You've Been Gregged. You can also listen
Gs.
to a podcast that I do with some other Vikings fans. It's called Football the Podcast, or FTP for short.
You're
so
a
you can
terrible
you can
person.
find
You are
find me
a
on there.
terrible person.
Usually that's
Football
usually weekly.
is one word.
Yeah, FTP Football the Podcast. That's a good place to find me. Have you been Greg on Instagram? I've got some stuff.
You're on Twitter
in
too.
the- I'm on Twitter at Greggory Daniels.
Yeah.
I got some stuff in the pipeline. I might be promoting next year or so. So, yeah.
I love how you're blaming me of like, oh, you got that last one in there, and your podcast is literally
I got
FTP.
the last one in.
FTP.
As always. I own your podcast, man. Why do you bring me on here?
That's it. I just, again, like every year I think it's going to go differently.
It's
and
never
it
gonna go
just-
differently.
It never does.
I
It
outwit
never
you.
does. But I'm, listen,
Yeah.
when the Packers win on Sunday, I want you to flood his social media with just
I
every
welcome it.
comment you can imagine.
I welcome
and
it.
it'll be great.
It's
Do you
not
guys
gonna
think you'll
happen.
win a Super Bowl in the next 10 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
It's good to have pipe dreams.
This is the coach to do it. I know that.
Okay.
I
Fair
know
enough.
that much.
All right. So maybe I'll see you in like 10 years and like you guys.
Team
will-
Zimmer.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Greg, it's been phenomenal.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been great.
Should we shake hands? We're in person this time. I feel like we've been shaking hands over the phone all these years. Well done, Tom.
Well done.
Excellent podcast.
It's great. You do great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on all the successes. Yeah, wash your hands.
God, it's disgusting.
I'll wash mine later. With
You
soap.
could always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com.
I use soap because I'm a Vikings fan. Obviously, you just witnessed how things go on the other side of things. Are you gonna finish? Are you gonna let me?
Listen,
let
you're
me just
obviously
run this-
using some kind of soap, on like your field goal kicker's feet because you just,
Oh,
you
just
you
wrap
can't-
it up, man.
Can't seal the deal there.
Just wrap
they
it
have
up.
0 Super Bowl rings, guys. 0 Super Bowl rings.
That's
That's
all-
0.
That's the what they
Zero.
always come back to.
That I have to because that's the only thing I have this season.
I know. You're not telling me
Listen,
anything I don't know.
We'll just go for like another 30 minutes of just being like, no, fuck you. No, fuck you. And that's it. Find me at TomGrossiComedy.com. Check out Podcast. We're on Twitch. We're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, all that great, wonderful stuff. Everything will be in there. It's gross. That's pornographic. I'm not going to show that. It's a family show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.